and welcome to another episode of Preparing for the Unexpected. I'm your host, Alex Fullick, and as always, we like to talk about things related to disaster recovery, business continuity, COVID, crisis management, anything that's relatable to those topics, anything that helps you, your organization, or your community plan for, respond to, and overcome adverse situations. If there is a topic you'd like us to talk about on the show or you'd like to be a guest, please feel free, send me an email. On YouTube, if you're watching, in the details, there is a link, should be a link there to my LinkedIn profile. I am the only Alex Fullick on LinkedIn. And if you're on Voice America, you can go to the show's webpage for the show. Underneath the graphic, there is a button that says send the host an email. And I do respond to everything I get. If you want to promote a product or service, feel free to reach out that way, and I can get you some information on that as well. And today I'd like to thank everybody at Stone Road for sponsoring today's show and their product, boastassessment.com, that allows you to go through, answer a bunch of questions, and do a self-assessment on your own program, find out where you are, and align your resources appropriately. So thanks everyone there. Longtime listeners on the Voice America show will know that I talked about the Business Continuity Virtual World conference held in November that I would be speaking, and that fingers crossed I'd have some of those speakers come onto the show. Well, today I'm lucky enough to have one of those speakers on the show, and the topic, by the way, was developing a BCM awareness campaign. So I'd like to welcome to the show Matthias Rosenberg. Matthias, welcome to the show.
Hi, Alex. Welcome. Thank you for having me on your show. Great pleasure.
Well, I'm glad you were able to find the time. Now, I know we've sent some emails back and forth, and I know your bio, but literally we have listeners and watchers now, because we're on both Voice America and YouTube, literally around the globe. So could you take a minute or two and tell us about yourself?
Yes, sure. My name is Matthias Rosenberg. I'm a fellow of the Business Continuity Institute. So I've served for them, nearly 15, 16 years in a row, in different positions, in different activities. Myself, I've studied business administration somewhere in the 80s, I guess. It was in the 80s. So my first job was at a company here in Hamburg, Germany, called the Info AG. It was a public listed company to that time. And it was the first private, disaster recovery center here in Germany. So I started my career there for 3 or 4 years, and then I worked for a consultancy company before I created my own company in 2000, which is Control It AG in Hamburg. And in 2007, I've also started a second company, which is the BCM Academy here in Germany, which is a training company to educate people within the companies, not only how to implement, but also how to use tools, specific BIA tools or things like this in a very hands-on way, I would say. It's not only theoretical input.
Well, that's the best way to learn, actually do, right? Don't just show me, teach me and let me do, So
yeah, exactly.
Well, welcome to the show, and I'm happy you took the time out to join us today.
Yeah.
Now, as I mentioned, your topic was, I have to keep looking down to make sure I get the words right, developing a BCM awareness campaign. So with awareness, and you talked about training, what's the difference between awareness and training? Is there a difference? Some people lump them together. Some people say they are completely different. What are your thoughts?
It is different. I would say it's different. For me, awareness is how to get the right mindset within a company for a specific, let's say, program you would like to introduce into your company. So The first thing is you need to understand how the company works as a, let's say, a business culture. It's not only having a hierarchy and that's the culture, it's more how the people behave, what kind of company is that, in which countries are these people active. So what is the mixture of different cultures within a company? First of all, that is the first step to understand this. And training, if you go to training, that is how you enable the people within these professional environment to do their jobs. So if you bring a new thing like, let's say, business continuity management here in Germany, a lot of companies, even big ones, are starting right now with business continuity management. So first of all, you have to give them the knowledge that they really understand what they have to do in the job in terms of business continuity management. So first of all, awareness is understanding why we are doing things, and training is enabling the people within the company with different roles to do the job.
Okay, great. Now, in your presentation, you also talked about culture, and there was a bunch of different kinds of culture. What is organizational culture to you? Because I know some people will say, culture is just the way an organization operates, but I think it's a little bit more than that. So, can you explain what culture is?
Sure, Alex. It is much more than the way people think that the people in the company work, especially the managers. In Germany, we have a very new thing here, which is called the agile organization. I'm not sure if you have heard that in your country as well. But managers here in Germany often listen to, let's say, the big fours coming in the company, telling them that they have to have an agile culture now because others maybe develop things faster than they, and so on. And then the management say, oh yeah, that's a cool idea. Let's implement the agile culture in our company. And then they're running different workshop. And this is exactly the way how to not implement new things in a company. So the very first thing what you should do is, first of all, you should understand what you implement. So you should ask yourself, is this a good idea for my company? If I'm an insurance company for hundreds of years with a very hierarchical structure with very established processes and so on, and you suddenly say, yes, I have a new manager on top, and now we should change our complete mindset from one day to another because of one manager. Then yes, the people, let's say, pretend that they are following this new culture, but it is not really a culture shift. Culture shift means you first of all have to understand what profession is it, what is the profession culture in total. Let's say banking and insurance is different than production, and then different than logistics and so on. And then you have what I mentioned in the beginning, you have different countries with different cultures. So if you are globally active as a company, then you have also to deal with the different cultures of the different countries. This is what you have to take into account if you create an awareness campaign to change or to adapt the existing culture to the new ideas. So this you have to take into account. Then you have to take into account for sure also the different divisions you have. Let's say a marketing department works completely different from its culture than, let's say, the IT department. It's I'm not sure if you have had these conversations with IT or with marketing. They are on different.
Yeah, their focuses are in completely different areas.
Yeah, and the way they communicate and they understand things are completely different normally. It's not, they are the same company, but they have completely different mindsets, also ways to talk and so on. And this is all you have to take into account, I know it's sometimes a bit difficult, but if you don't take the time to really understand your company and the different cultures, and the last thing which you have to take into account is also the leadership culture. So is it management by fear? Is it management by we are a team, or what kind of a culture do you have in your company?
Well, that leads me to an interesting question here. At the beginning, you said, some organizations, they say, yeah, Agile's a great, methodology. Let's implement it, and change their culture. But the people behind it aren't really Agile themselves. They aren't adaptable to things. They're set in their rigid ways, and it doesn't matter, how long they've been in their position. I've seen millennials the same way, and I've seen seasoned veterans the same way. So how do you deal with that in a culture, where something is being said versus what's actually happening? That the two don't really align. Leadership is not really the kind of people they say they want their organization to be.
Normally, when I try to create an awareness campaign, the first level which I address is the top management level, especially here in business continuity management. Without the backing from the top management, you will not really implement a functional business continuity management system. If they say, yeah, let's do it somehow, but please don't make too much effort. I need a plan for whatever, the auditor or for someone, for a client, but they don't really see the benefit of having a company which is prepared for the unexpected things which can happen, as we see right now. If you don't have that in the mindset of the top management, then it's really difficult to implement things like this in the company. And it's the same with Agile. When you talking about Agile, normally the first thing what you should do is talking to the management and explain what it means. That you don't need the middle management in the future. That it's a complete shift in how to lead a company. That it's more, let's say, led by different teams, which also change by on what they are working. And if they really have understood this complete shift, because if they are not willing to transform their power to the people in the company, which is Agile. Agile means it is not so different if you are the guy which earns the most of the money, or the guy, let's say, in the reception. At the end, everyone is a part of the company, and everyone has a voice, and this voice has to be listened to. This means Agile. So Agile doesn't mean this top-down approach. It means a complete shift in the whole mindset also of the management. And if they are not willing to do that, then I would recommend, that's how I do consulting, then I would recommend don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah,
it's waste of time.
I recall an instance where a vice president, they wanted to change the culture, make it more open, and and I guess part of that could be using an Agile mindset. And I remember them standing up in front of a whole bunch of people saying, I have an open door policy. We're going to change the culture. And then when a couple of people wanted to actually talk to him, they had to go through 2 or 3 different administration assistants, to get on his calendar, which was weeks and weeks away. And they were like, well, you said you were open door policy, and yet we can't even talk to you. So, what you're saying and what you're doing are 2 completely different things.
Yeah, this is a very good example. So sometimes I think they got their ideas from the golf course, for someone else telling them that they have implemented an Agile organization, and now they would like to do that the same way. It's, as you may remember, the lean thing, which was one, as we say here in Germany, if you hunting a pig through the organization. This is coming from time to time. So it was lean, now it's agile, in the future is something else.
Yeah.
The only thing which is not that much promoted is business continuity management, because it's much more complex, and people, I don't name it, people need to have more experience in implementing things. So it's not that easy and not that sexy, because you don't earn more money normally if you implement business continuity management. In situation like right now, I think companies which were well prepared will see a benefit, because they are still in business and doing business, while others struggling with even easy things like organizing laptops, setting up the IT, and so on. So this, I think this is something I hope will change in the future with the next generations of managers. Hopefully they are not, especially here in Germany, sticking in these hierarchies and thinking power is what I would like to have in my life, not understanding that they are only paid a bit better than the rest of the employees, but they are not better.
That's right. Yeah.
People. So
that's right. Yeah. The in the hierarchy, you have greater responsibility, but that doesn't mean you're a better person. It doesn't mean you have all the knowledge or all the skills.
No, and even companies just like Apple or Tesla, which have great leaders, maybe not the greatest people, especially with Apple, was a complicated guy. So from what was reported, but they were genius. But at least it's not only the genius, it's the people in the company which earn the money for the company. And this is what managers always should have in mind. It's not the managers that earn the money, it's the people in the company, so your employees. And to value these employees, to try to understand what they are thinking, try to take them with you if you would like to change things in the company, not to overwhelm them with new things and new ideas every 3 years with a new idea, is not the best way to lead a company. So first of all, it's asking what they need that they can make their work better, and then call it as you like it. Like if you like to have an agile company with all the consequences, it's fine for me, but you have to really understand first. And the second thing is you have to ask your employees what they think of these ideas, because they have to live with that.
That's right. Yeah. They're the ones who are following through on it. You brought up an interesting point about, I like the analogy, actually, people getting new ideas, leadership getting new ideas from the golf course, and you got me thinking about some incidents in my previous life where I worked for the hospitality industry, kitchen manager, general manager, et cetera, et cetera. And I worked for a restaurant chain at the time, and the president, every 6 months would have a new idea for the restaurant, because he was in Florida and saw something interesting at a restaurant down there, or, somewhere in Europe, and would bring it back. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. And every 6 months, something was changing in the restaurant. The menu was huge, new equipment for the kitchen, but the kitchen couldn't expand anymore. To work all this stuff, you had too many people on the line, where people cook, that it was frustrating to try and actually work back there. People couldn't learn the menu because it was so huge, and it made it quite the mess of the restaurant. And a couple of years later, because of that, the restaurant chain didn't exist anymore. So it was interesting, your point of, trying to change culture, and they learned it from seeing things in other places, and it gives detrimental impacts eventually. In this case, the restaurant chain went under.
Yeah, optimizing to death.
Yeah. So let's move to learning. How do people learn? And you talked about 4 learning personalities.
Yeah, that's not my intention. Yeah, it's not from me. It's something which I think a lot of people know, that people learn different. So you learn different than me. I learn different than my wife, and so on. So different people have how to say, different preferences, what makes it easy for them to understand a new topic. And so when you create a training program, you can start, okay, making interview with everyone in the company, what kind of a learning type is that person, which would take a bit too long normally. So what you should take into account is that there are these different types existing, and I tell you now the different types. And what you should try with the training program is addressing these different, let's say, preferences within your training program, so that you don't fed them up with slides and slides and slides, but mix up the different possibilities to run a training. So these four different learning personalities are what is called the auditory learning personality. That means someone who is really good in learning by following someone who is telling a new topic, just like me. Hopefully not too boring, but in direct face-to-face interaction. That's one type. I think this is something which everyone knows from school. So you have a teacher, you sit in a classroom. Hopefully in the future we can do that again, and running training. So interaction between people. Then you have someone who is good in visual learning. So visual learner can get the most out of a new topic by following videos, for example. When I, for example, go in a complete new industry, let's say I go to a special glass production, and I've never ever heard about how this works, how they create Gorilla Glass or something like this. Then the first thing what I do is normally I go to YouTube and I watch the production process, and you can really nearly watch everything from glass to cars. What are the different steps in the production, which makes it then easier to talk to clients if you understand in general how it works. So this is how I prepare myself with videos, and other people's are very good in, let's say, running then e-learnings, get information out of these e-learning things. This is a visual learning personality, if you like. Then we have people which are very good. We talked about that in the beginning before we made this interview. Very good in motoric learning, that doing things. So someone explains a topic, and then I do it by myself, and this is how I can learn. For example, to run a BIA is something you can read in the good practice guide or in books, or following the new adaptive BCM. You don't have to do that anymore. Things like this. But if you really do that by your own, you try it out, then you really learn what works and what will not work in a practical approach. And then the last kind of learners are people which learn by communicating with other people. So you tell something to me, I understand it, and then I discuss it with, let's say, my colleagues, or I try to explain it to my wife in the evening. Due to this transformation from what I've heard to I try to explain it, I see where I have gaps in my understanding, and in my own words, creating content in my own words, what I understood from that is also a very good way for some people to learn. I think a combination of all these things is what you should keep in mind if you develop a training material. So you should have theoretical input, you should have interactive things like exercises, practical exercises, how to use different tools you're using in business continuity management. Then you have the chance to put the people in front of the others to explain content. What I normally do when I do trainings from day one, on the second day, I simply give them sheets of paper where they write their questions on it. Then I get all these questions, and then I give them different questions, and they should answer this question from their colleagues. So it's a very interactive process. They can write down where they still have questions in mind. So you can make it really really a good mix without, let's say, spending thousands of euros or dollars. It is about mixing up different kinds of contexts, be a bit creative to keep in mind that these different types of learners are there in your audience, and that you have to address all of them. So you have to have a mixture within your training, not only PowerPoint slides or only exercises. This must be a mixture of these things.
You have to engage them.
Yes.
That'd be correct, because I'm all of those. All four of those examples. Sometimes I'll read, because I do a lot of reading. And if there's a point that I'm still stuck on, I don't quite get, no matter how they explain it, or if I'm talking to somebody, draw it out for me, map it out for me. So, I can't quite understand what you're saying. Can you just kind of scribble it down, and then I can see it, so depending on what the situation is, what I'm able to absorb, some of the pieces that I can't absorb, I have to change the way, that I'm learning that, so that I can fill, using your word, fill that gap that I've identified.
Yeah. But I think that's very important. Sadly, it's even in schools and even on universities, it's still not that way. Normally, when I remember when I were at the university in Hamburg, it was one guy somewhere down there telling something, make some maybe some notes on the board, but it was not interactive. I saw a new guy here in Germany. It is a mathematics professor, and what he's doing now, he is also, due to pandemic, he is recording his complete lecture via video. Then he sends it directly in the beginning on the first day to all the students. So everyone has a complete lecture for, let's say, 3 months. And what he say then is, watch it on Friday. We meet every Friday, and you come with questions to these different lecture. What did you not understand? Then they do some exercises. So it's also kind of a mixture. So he can, people which are faster can jump and go faster through the complete topics. Some other which needs more explaining can simply go back in the video, start again, go back, start again, until they really understood it. And on a Friday, they have this interactive module where they can answer questions, doing exercises, things like this. So it's a very good concept, which also works now in the pandemic. So
most definitely. Idea. So let's move on a little bit. Some of this I think you've kind of scratched the surface at, but learning objectives. What kind of objectives should we consider, in our learning?
The learning objective is normally the first thing what you should think about if you're creating a learning program or a training program. So You should have a clear idea what the different roles you have. Let's say for your business continuity program, what different addresses do I have within my business continuity management program? And then for each of these different group, you should define what is it exactly at the end, what they should know and understand. So let's say all the employees should have a general understanding why we are doing BCM. It's more kind of an awareness. So mindset, understanding why are we thinking about things like resilience in the company and so on. And then you have the people which should do things, let's say the business continuity coordinators within the departments, which are the helpers of the BC managers or the officer or however it is called. They should have a deeper understanding of the BCM lifecycle, of all the tools we are using. Maybe they are in the future also able to run within their department the BIA on their own, depending on the size and complexity of the structure. So you define for these different groups the objectives based on the role, and it should describe as precise as possible what should be the desired outcome after you have conducted a training. Otherwise, you are not able to check if the let's say objective is reached. This is also something which is written in the ISO standard. So you should do a check. Okay, I've run a training, and then I ask some questions, and can they answer the questions or not? It could have two different reasons why. When they are not able to answer, you are not a good trainer. So you have to work on your training abilities, which is also a great outcome. So feedback to get from the people, feedback how you explain things. Is it easy to understand or not? Do they think they now can run the BIA, for example, or not? This should be crystal clear, not simply, this is a life cycle and these are the different phases and everyone in the company get the same training on the same level.
Now that's interesting you just brought that up, because I was thinking of that myself, that having been through, training sessions or learning sessions, awareness sessions, whatever you want to call it, lunch and learns and things like that, quite often, it seems as though the person who's up there, chatting away is more in a position where they are promoting themselves and what they do, rather than taking that knowledge and skill out of their head and passing that on to somebody who needs to know it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is also what I've seen often. And it's good when the BC manager or whoever is responsible to run the training has a broad knowledge. That helps, but it is not mentioned because I'm an expert in some whatever matter, that I'm a good teacher on the other hand. Because a good teacher, or especially in a, let's say, professional environment where we have people which have different jobs beside business continuity management. We have someone in the treasury, we have someone responsible for HR. They have their tasks, daily tasks. It's not business continuity management. So overwhelming them with all your knowledge, and this is a life cycle, normally generates more, oh my goodness, I don't want to have this guy around here anymore. Then understanding, okay, there is something which is called business continuity management, and my job in this task is this. Exactly explaining what we expect from the different people, different roles. As I mentioned, a coordinator needs more knowledge than, let's say, someone in a team which should deliver input for a BIA. These are different tasks. They do not necessarily need every single detail of understanding of the life cycle. So I can reduce a training to whatever 1.5 hours, which is then enough for the department, and they have the complete understanding what's their job. Right. And then when we are going along the life cycle, we are going to the next step. And then when we are in the design phase, we explain what it is, what we would now like to know from the department. And that in the beginning, this is the BCM life cycle with all its complexity. This is not a good idea, I would say.
Yeah, and I've been through that. In this last little bit, can we talk about awareness itself, the strategy, and something you call edutainment? I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, you say it completely right. Yes, let's talk about awareness strategy, what it is. It's not that difficult. At least it's three things we should take into account. On one hand, it is the different roles. So the level, which are the people which I would like to make aware of business continuity management during, let's say, an awareness campaign. And before I go into more detail, I would like to raise one point, which is it is not a one-time effort you have to think about. It is one essential part, as you know, the life cycles. It's in the center. That means it's an ongoing process. So you have to somehow think about how can we implement these measures on a day-to-day basis. So when people come to the company, that on the first day on the onboarding process, they get the first touch with business continuity management until they leave the company. Right. So this is one thing. So you have the different roles which you would like to train in the company. Then you define fitting to this different role the objective which they should understand, and then you define the time. So how much time do you need to transfer the required knowledge for the different roles? So these are the three, let's say, things you have to keep in mind. And what you should think about has to do with the different people, the different cultures. What we talked about is how can we make it a bit exciting to transfer these basic understanding what is this when we are talking about business continuity management, that it's not an IT issue, that it's a different thing than, let's say, a pandemic plan and so on. So that we explain a bit what it is in a way that say that it's exciting for them to get more of the knowledge. So you normally when you start an awareness campaign, you don't overwhelm them with everything in the beginning. So you should try to make it like a commercial on TV. So you, in the beginning, if you have a new product, you make people exciting, not telling everything, and then you are going further down the road if they get a general understanding. You bring quizzes and so on. And edutainment is not simply seeing these different things you can do, a video here and an e-learning there. It's trying to bring these things together and telling kind of a story over the time, so that the people become kind of an entertainment. So it's not only that they see, okay, I need to do this e-learning. They would like to do the e-learning because something in the e-learning is so interesting that they are responding in a positive way. So all you create within awareness, always in the background, how can I design it in an entertaining way, which should fit to the organization. Once again, you cannot come with comics, let's say, in a very formal organization. It must fit to the organization. But even in a formal organization, you can tell a story boring, or you can tell them that it's exciting to listen and that they are interested to get more knowledge about this topic. And this is about edutainment. So thinking of the awareness program in a way that it's focused on the different roles, but always in mind, how can we tell the story in an entertaining way, that it's not the normal thing, that they fall asleep after 5 minutes, or they simply are not interested in this topic. They simply click through the e-learning where the end, where the questions are, and
Yeah.
then they are answering this for question because it's so boring. So
And stay away. I'm guessing stay away from all that. Where it's, what's the best way of saying it? Doom and gloom. You know,
yeah,
when it comes to business continuity, you know, a lot of times, and you know, and I know you have experienced it. I just know from listening to you that, you know, some people it's just nothing but doom and gloom. You know, and then when that happens, people just tune out as well. It's like, oh, well, then what's the point? You know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Therefore, it is very important. This is what I said in the beginning. You have to understand what is the audience you would like to tell a story. So is it all employees, or is it a specific area? Let's say the IT, what is exactly what we expect from the IT? So that you have content which fits to the audience. And then the only thing what you have then to think about is how can we create the content as entertaining as possible, fitting to the culture for this specific group. So it makes, definitely, it makes more effort to create all these different kind of styles, let's say, within your awareness program. But the effect, if you do so, is much bigger on the organization. So if you take the time to create specific, let's say, target group specific contents and ways to transform, to transfer them, the material, then the impact also on your business continuity program is much bigger. So this, I know this part is often seen as, oh yeah, let's do some trainings, let's make an e-learning, that's it, then we have our awareness thing made. No, it is not. It is also which leads to all the other phases. For example, when you go to the validation phase and you say, oh, we're doing our testing, then you can use also the testing for awareness. For example, if you manipulate computers and think that they should not work at the, let's say, alternate location, so you sabotage some things to see what happens. Are they escalating, so that even tests and everything within the life cycle is more exciting? So you have to think about how to implement these things within your business continuity management system.
You mentioned something earlier that awareness is ongoing. So as you implement your various awareness pieces, you know, the onboarding piece, and then, you know, you take them to a new level. As you go through some of these pieces, and if awareness is ongoing, do you constantly revise your awareness program based on
Yes.
some of the feedback or response you're getting
Yeah,
in these
yeah,
different sessions?
yeah. Even from the beginning. So if I create an awareness program for a company, I don't do that in my office. I do that with the organization. So I get all the people together in a workshop, and then we develop the content, the different target groups, the let's say media which we would like to use to transfer knowledge. We see, we are trying to identify gaps. So from the last life cycles, where are the gaps? Where are things good understood, and where do we have, in general, kind of a misconception in the heads of the people? These things are taken into account, and every year, if we are rising in the let's say maturity of our business continuity program, then we have to do also something on the awareness program. Otherwise, it's getting not entertaining; it's getting boring. Because if people really understand what they are doing, and you tell them every year the same thing within the awareness, it's like the fire exercise from school. You know, you go out and you go back, and after 3 times
Yeah,
you fall
you're
asleep
barely
almost.
paying attention. It's, you know,
Yeah,
whatever, you know, I
yeah,
just follow that
yeah.
route, you know, and not doing anything.
So
Just out of curiosity, what if your organization is changing? you've had mergers or an acquisition, or you've decommissioned something, we only have a few minutes left. Do you take that into account in your awareness as well?
Yeah,
As the
absolutely,
organization
absolutely.
changes, that's a trigger for a change in your awareness program?
Yeah, back to the first part of our conversation. This is the very beginning. So if changes happen, if we merge, if we change the organization, buy companies or sell things, then we have to rethink the organization. What does it mean for the organizational culture? And this we have to take into account. Sure, definitely.
Okay. We only have less than 3 minutes left. Did you have any final thoughts on awareness and learning and culture?
I would say the final thoughts of me are the things what I said in the beginning. So please take the time to understand your organization. What is it? How it really works? Not the organizational diagram. What are the people? What makes the culture is not the diagram. It's what the people are thinking of the company, is what they are thinking of the management, is in general the mood of the people. So if they have reorganized 4 times a year and you come around with BCM, then you can imagine how happy they are with you. This you should take into account, and you don't stop awareness. So awareness is, as the BCM lifecycle, an ongoing activity, a very important activity, starting at the top level.
Everything starts there, eh?
Yeah.
Well, Matthias, thanks very much for sharing your skill and expertise and your time with us today. I really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure, Alex.
And if you think of anything else with awareness or learning, please feel free to reach out. We'll get you back, and we'll talk more.
Cool. Have a great day.
You too, and to everybody else who's listening and watching, stay prepared, everybody. If you liked that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave a message and let me know what your thoughts are. If you'd like to be a guest on the show to talk about something related to business continuity, disaster management, COVID, personal well-being, anything that's relatable to those subjects, you can reach me through my LinkedIn profile, which is in the video description. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. In the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.